everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and we're doing the pickup video for the month of May and June. And one little mini update I do have to give is that I'm going to be moving at some point this year, but it's probably either going to happen like late summer or early fall. All really depends how that goes. Obviously I'm not going to go like too crazy detail about it and bore you guys with information about it, but I do want to get out right now that, yeah, because of that, I probably am not going to be buying, like, a shit ton of things for like, the next little bit, because, you know, I gotta carry all this stuff all the way back to where I'm moving, so yeah, that's all I'm going to be saying about the moving thing, but, one other thing I do want to mention before we really begin with this is that, so I know I did make a community tab post on this, but I figured I'd mention it here, because it is kind of interesting, and I guess it is sort of a pickup-ish. Is that I got my copy of Shadow Hearts 2 signed by two people, being Richard Epcard, one of my favorite voice actors, and also his wife, Ellen Stern, who also is a really great voice actress, and, you know, and they were both in the game. Of course, Richard Epcard wasn't, like, a huge voice role in it, he was the voice director, and yes, I'm just putting up a little picture of it right here, because, unfortunately, I already packed all my PS2 games, and I don't feel like taking it all out and just to show you guys. But, you know, maybe when I do my next room tour video, I'll probably show you guys, like, the actual thing in front of me there. But, yes, I do have the picture of it right here. But, yes, anyways, oh yeah, I just figured I'd mention that real quick, because I thought that was just really fucking cool. And also, they were very fun to talk to. I asked them a bunch of questions about some of the more, like, obscure stuff that not a lot of people ask them about, because I talked to them about, like, you know, like Monster and, you know, 999 and all that, so, yeah. Like I said, just figured I'd mention that real quick, that I just thought it was just a really cool thing that I just really wanted to talk about. And I know sometimes the reach on community posts can be a little weird, so anyways, let's just get right to it. Alright, so first, let's begin talking about the video games, and yeah, there's not many in here, there's only two. So, yes. So, this one right here is, Majin in the Forsaken Kingdom on the 360. So, this is a game that I actually didn't know about when it came out. I think it came out in 2010, and yeah, around that time, I never even knew about this game until, like, somewhat recent years, and I've actually heard a lot of very cool things about this game. So, apparently it's like an action platformer. You play as this, like, thief guy, and you gotta use these, like monster things. I think there's like more than one of them too, and you use them, like, you know, to help you out to get through like different levels and such. So yeah, I've heard that this game was a pretty underrated game, and you know, and when I finally found it, I decided to pick it up and get it. And yeah, hopefully I'll play this one soon when I get to my new place. And as for the last game that we got here is on the Nintendo Switch, and it is a fairly recent one that came out, but it's not one that you would expect. Well, then again, it is me after all. Of course, you gotta leave it to me to pick up the weird shit. And that happens to be this edgy-looking Toho game, which is all in, like, Japanese and stuff. But there is English, like, in the game. But as for the title, it's called, something Romelia Scarlet Symphony. You can just type in Romelia Scarlet Symphony, I'll put the title, and you should be able to find it. But, yes. So, yes. This is a, like a 2D platformer very similar to the, classic style, Castlevania, so, you know, I love that type of stuff. And, yeah, you know, I love the art, I love the graphics in the game, the music is great, all that is all top-notch. The game is actually fun, it does play pretty well. I do like some of the mechanics they have here, although I don't like it as much as, oh, what's that other one, Toho Luna Nights? That one is, like, you know, that game is amazing, I love that game. This one I don't think it's on that level, but it's still pretty good. But one thing that did surprise me about this game is that this game is, like, really freaking short. I actually beat this game, like, really quickly, and I was, like, not expecting it to be that short. So, because of that, I do feel like this is a game that you probably should wait for a sale. Not because it's bad, it's just because it is a very short game, and I do feel like that the price that it, like the base price that it is, I think is a little bit too much for how, like, short the game is. Also, one other complaint I do have about this game is that the level design does get a little bit recycled. Like, literally, you'll be in, like, one room with, like, an enemy or, like, a bunch of enemies. You go to the next room, it'll literally look like the exact same room that you were just in, but just with, like, different enemies in them, so. And it does that quite a few times towards the end, so I do feel like that is one kind of minor complaint I do have. But outside of that, yeah, like I said, it's pretty good and fun, but I just wish it had more levels in it, and also I wish that, you know, like, the levels weren't so, like they didn't recycle as much shit. Alright, so next up we're going to be talking about some movies and anime stuff, but first we'll get the anime stuff out of the way, and this one right here is, Amitage 3? And no, not to be confused, the actual name of it is Amitage 3. Like, they just called it that for some reason. I haven't seen this one yet, but I've always wanted to. For one, the art style looks fucking cool. And secondly, one fun little fact I know about this one is that this anime series, even though it might not be the most well-known, it still manages to have some, like, really good, like, actors in it. In fact, there's actually two actors that actually became very popular years later. So, as you can see right here, Kiefer Sutherland is in here. You know, that's fucking cool. In fact, he eventually played, you know, Solid Snake in Metal Gear 5, so that's kind of interesting that he's in this. And then also the most surprising one is that, Bryan Cranston is in this shit, too. Like, what the fuck? So, Walter White is in an anime, and a very obscure one too, so I thought that was just really fucking cool that they were in here. So, yes, like I said, I haven't seen this one yet, but from what I know is that it's basically like a cyberpunk anime that also takes place on, like, Mars or something. Yeah, I know that's probably not the best description ever, but like I said, I always said it looked really cool, it has a really cool cast, so... Alright, as for the last anime one, well, it's actually not really anime, but honestly, it might as well be at this fucking point. So, that happens to be The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. And, look at that cover. Like, look at Luigi in his, like, frog suit. Like, he looks like he's about to, like, fucking kill your ass. I don't know, it's just funny the way how it's drawn on there. So, yeah, we got, all the you know, the Super Show kind of thing. Well, it's not the Super Show. It you know, it's basically is kind of like an extension of the Super Show, but, you know, obviously they recasted, like, pretty much everyone, so unfortunately there's no Lou, and also there's no live-action cutscenes in it. It's just straight-up cartoon, which, you know, is fine. I do remember there were some, like, funny moments in this one, but, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it. In fact, I remember the very first episode, the sneaky, lying, cheating, giant ninja Koopas. I had to look that one up real quick, because I was like, I think that was actually the one that one of my babysitters had a VHS tape of, and I remember I used to watch it, like, all the frickin' time, so, yeah, I do remember that, and I thought that was kind of fun, that I just randomly found this in my area, and I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah. Oh, but speaking of Mario stuff, I think we gotta talk about this film. Yeah, so I was at Walmart the other day. I was just doing some groceries, and then I walked by the electronics section. I saw this, and I was just like, oh shit, I didn't even realize this shit even came out on physical media yet. So I had to pick it up, and yes, I have seen this, and yeah, oh my god, dude, this film is just really, really great. And I'm not just saying that because, like, you know, I'm like a Mario fan and whatever. No, I actually think this was a very fun film. Like, you know, like the one thing about, like about modern films that does, like, kind of, like, I'm not crazy about is the fact that a lot of them try to be all, like, sophisticated, and they have to be, like, all, like, have deep meanings and all this shit. And not that I have a problem with, like, films having deep meanings, but it's just, you know, I just get kind of sick and tired of it, where this is just pure adventure, pure fun, you know, it knows exactly what it's trying to be, you know, like, has some, like, really cool, like, little Easter eggs that you can easily miss. In fact, I actually really do want to rewatch this again to try to pick up on some, and also the music is awesome. Like, they actually picked out some really great, like, music throughout all the random games, and did some remixes, even the freaking, the DK rap is in here, and they didn't even remix it. It's straight up the exact same one from the N64 game. So, that's awesome. And, oh man. And also, just the humor was great. The cast was great. And I know a lot of people were very, iffy about the cast at first. I was pretty on board with it. The only person in the cast I was not huge on was Seth Rogen, but you know what? Even he was actually pretty good in the film, which really says a lot, because, you know, I just am not a fan of him whatsoever, but they made him work, and it worked out. But, yeah, man, I don't know what else I can say about this. This is basically like the Mario movie that we should have gotten in my childhood, but no, instead we got the weird live-action one, which, yeah, it does have its, like, charming moments, but Yeah, that was just a whole other thing. It's just funny that that movie came out the year I was born, and how I found out about it was because I saw it advertised at the back of one of my comic books I had, and I was like, oh my god, they made a Mario movie? How did I not know? And then, you know, you re-rented it from the video store, and then, yeah, it was not what I wanted. But no, we finally got this, and I'm happy, and it turned out to be really freaking great. Alright, so next up, we're going to talk about some Godzilla films that I got, and these are the two packs. That is, these two. So this one is the one with a really crazy title. It's Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack. Yeah, gotta love that fucking title. So yeah, that's actually a really cool, like, batshit crazy one that I like. And then the other one we got here is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Yeah, not to be confused with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which is a thing. No, this is against. Yeah, remember that. And kind of weird that these two are, like, packaged together because Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla is a sequel to Tokyo SOS, which is a fucking great one, by the way. That one might actually be one of my favorites. It's hard to say what my favorite Godzilla film is, but that one's definitely up there. But, yeah. So, yeah, kind of weird that they're together, but still, I'm glad to have them now, because, you know, I am trying to get, like, as much of the Godzilla films as I can. And then, these two. This one's actually still sealed, by the way. So this one is Godzilla vs. Destroyer, which is actually a pretty cool one. I always thought Destroyer actually like had a really cool design, so I thought that was awesome. And then we got Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, which is one that I have a feeling I might not have seen that one, or maybe I did. Maybe I just completely forgot about it. But from what I remember, like I just like looked it up just to make sure and. Yeah, I don't think I have. Not that I remember. So, anyways, yeah, so it's kind of cool to have that. Like I said, I'm getting slightly closer to getting all the ones I want. Unfortunately, what was it? I think it was Godzilla vs. Biollante is, like, really expensive for some stupid reason. I don't know why. But, yeah, that one might be a bitch to get, but that's okay. Maybe I'll find it somewhere, or maybe they'll do a re-release of it, but we'll see. Okay, so as for the next one I'm going to be talking about is another one that I haven't seen yet, but it's one that I always hear a lot of people talk about, and that is Midsummer. So this is another film from 2019 that, like I said, I heard a lot of people talk about, and it's one of those films that, like, it's kind of hard to, like, explaining it without giving away too much. Like, essentially from what I remember is that it's about, like, these, like, a family goes to like, a foreign country, and then there's, like, a cult or something, and there's, like, this, like, crazy weird stuff that happens in it. I've heard a lot of people say it's, like, really fucking good. And, you know, like, a lot of films that I've heard that, like, you know, that are really hard to explain simply, I tend to love those films, because, you know, like, Parasite, I will say, was damn good, and that's another film that it's kind of hard to explain what it is without giving away too much, so... Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to really like this one. Like I said, I've heard a lot of great things about it, and it definitely does have my interest. Alright, next up we got two films starring the same actor, and that happens to be Sean Connery. So, yeah, we got The Hunt for Red October, which, you know, I always seem like I've been talking about this film a lot, or at least, like, the name of it, because, you know, I mentioned it in one of my older pickup videos, and I picked up the book. I've also talked about it when I did the, you know, the talking about NES games, and now we're talking about it here again. So, yeah, I don't need to say much about it, but it is a very, very good film about a submarine. And I'm still trying to read through the book, it's just, you know, I just haven't gotten around to getting back to it, but I will eventually finish it. And then we got The Great Train Robbery, this is a film I actually haven't seen yet. In fact, I didn't even know this film was even a thing until, like, I don't know, like a couple months ago. Because, so, this book is, this movie is based after a book, and it's based after a Michael Crichton book, and it's one that I actually do have, though I have it in that, like, little, like, collection thing. So, I haven't seen this one yet, but now that I do have the book, I want to read that first, and then watch this film. But yeah, I thought it was cool that Sean Connery was in this movie, and he's not old looking. He looks young. Yeah, and also Donald Sutherland is in here too. He's also a cool actor as well. But yeah, basically this film is pretty much about what the title says. It's about a train getting robbed. I mean, I don't know what more else to say. Alright, and next up we got is a Chuck Norris film, and that happens to be The Octagon. So, you know what's funny? Whenever I think of the name Octagon, I can't help but think of that one Sesame Street thing where Jack Black was on it, and he was like, "No, Elmo, I'm looking for an octagon." It's just always what I think of first. So, anyways, yeah, so it's a typical Chuck Norris film where he has to take on a bunch of ninja terrorists. Like, what more do you want? Unfortunately, I haven't gotten around to watching this one yet. I've been meaning to, it's just, because I've just been so busy lately, I just haven't gotten around to it, though. But does look like a fun Chuck Norris film, so I definitely can't wait for that. Alright, so now we have the last film that I picked up, and it's actually a good old classic, and that is, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And look, this is like one of those cool holographic covers, and it feels really cool. Well, not like you can tell, but, well, maybe you might tell a little bit, but yeah, it's a little bit shiny. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know what else I can say about this film. I mean, this film is just really funny, with the whole, the Black Knight scene where it's like, "It is but a scratch," when he gets, his, whole, body, cut up. I thought that was fun. And then, of course, the Killer Bunny. Then there's the wizard named Tim, because, that's an intimidating name, is Tim. And then there was the French guy that was all like, "Your mother's a hamster!" Oh, man. Yeah, so much stupid, funny shit in this movie, and it just never gets old for me. I even love Life of Brian as well, but I don't have that one yet. But still, the Holy Grail is still a good-ass fun time. Alright, so now we're going to be moving on to the music section. So, yes, there's actually quite a bit here, mainly because I actually combined the stuff I was supposed to get from the last time that I recorded one of these, but, that package kind of got delayed, so I kind of threw everything in here. So we'll go through this. So, these two right here are, obviously a really huge band for me. It's Rush, so we got Fly By Night, and then we got Moving Pictures. Surprisingly, I actually never owned this album on CD. I actually had it on cassette, weirdly enough. But yeah, I don't give a shit about cassette. So yeah, I have it on CD now. So yes, I don't need to talk about this album because this is their most popular one. And yeah, it is a damn good album. But I just feel like the first half of the album is kind of overplayed. But it's still very, very good stuff. And then we got Fly By Night, which is another very, very good album from them. Anthem is great. Best I Can, Fly By Night, the song itself. Making Memories. And then, yes, they have a song called In the End that has nothing to do with the Linkin Park song. I know. But, it's another really good one, though. So, yeah. Also, I always love this cover art a lot. I always thought it was just really cool. Alright, and next we got some of the stuff I got from that package that was delayed, and these are some Japanese stuff, and this one is really fucking cool. So this is, what's your name here? It's, Tsurusu Hirayama? I probably fucked that up really bad, but anyways, I'll put the name up. But yeah, look at these album covers. Aren't these, look really awesome? Especially this one. This is one of my favorite album covers ever. It looks like something out of, Ghibli Studio meets, Vampire Hunter D. Specifically, the 80s film. That's kind of what it reminds me of, and I think that's fucking great. But, yeah, so this one, you can actually find this on YouTube pretty easily. This album's called The Castle of Noi, and Noi is spelled, N-O-I. And then this one, I actually had to buy this one. I could not find this one on YouTube whatsoever. I don't know why. Maybe it was blocked in my country, or maybe just no one uploaded it. Or, I don't know. Maybe it's uploaded now, knowing my luck. But, anyways, though, not that I mind, because it is a very cool-looking album cover. And this one I can definitely say is a really good album. I actually really like it. The third song, In the Town of Loneliness, yeah, that's the third one. Yeah, the songs are actually in English on this one. And yeah, and it's actually a really catchy-ass song. Gets stuck in my head. Really love it. And then this one has a lot of really cool songs. Mainly the first two songs, Mystic World. Oh man, that is such a fucking great song. Very catchy. And Yeah, so in case you're wondering what the hell this is, yeah, this is prog rock, and it kind of has like a whimsical side of it a little bit. Like, I don't know what else I can compare it to. I mean, I know, like, one band I could compare it to, but they're, like, it's another very super obscure band, so I don't think anyone would know it. But I can't think of, like, anything that's, like, more well-known. But, yeah, so I know this one kind of has, like, a little, like, story concept about, like, this kid who, like, travels to, like, a land of, like, cats or something. Yeah, honestly, it almost sounds like a story to, like, a Ghibli film, almost, but... yeah, either way, these are very cool albums. If you can get a chance to listen to them, I would highly recommend it if you like, you know, whimsical prog. And next up, we got ourselves another Japanese prog rock band, and that is, Kenzo. And another cool album cover. And this one is, Kenzo 3. Yeah, all the albums are, like, you know, Kenzo 1, 2, 3, and, you know, so on. And yeah, this one is a prog rock, but also has a little bit of jazz fusion-ish, like, elements into it. And also it is a, instrumental. I don't know why it took me forever to say that. Well, anyways, yeah. So it is an instrumental album, and I dig it quite a bit. I think it's pretty good. I definitely need to re-listen to it again, because it has been a bit, but I do remember, like, really liking this album quite a lot, so... yeah. And next we have a Japanese metal band, probably one of the more well-known ones you can get, and that is, Anthem, with Hunting Time, with the little, chess pieces there. So, yes, Anthem is probably one of my favorite, Japanese metal bands. A lot of people say they're, like, the Japanese Judas Priest, and, yeah, I can say that. I can agree to that. And, yeah, this album is actually pretty fucking awesome. You know, you got The Juggler, Hunting Time, Evil Touch, Tears from the Lovers, Sleepless Night. All very good tracks. Definitely one of my favorite albums for sure. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite. It's tough to say because they have quite a bit of albums. I know I haven't heard like some of the more like recent ones, but out of like the you know like the 80s, 90s, and like 2000s era stuff, yeah, like I can definitely say this one is pretty high up on my list of favorites. Alright, next up we got ourselves another metal album that is Japanese, but this one is not as well known, and that is Mary Hamada, and with Aesthetica, and this is an album from 2010, and I can definitely say that this album is awesome, and yeah, look at that album cover. I really love the scenery. I love, like, her outfit, looks great. Probably should get a little bit better picture of it here, but yeah, no, I fucking love this album. Like, this is actually one of my favorite albums from her, and I've heard almost every album that she's put out, and she has a lot. Like, I want to say I've heard at least, like, half of it. And yeah, no, I think this is great. Yeah, very heavy stuff. So, you know, you got Stay Golden is really awesome. You got Stella is great. Unconditioned Beauty, Step in the Sand, Times, and then Saint Radiance is really good too. Saint Radiance I listened to quite a bit. Even though that song isn't like super heavy, but I just think it's just really catchy, and I just really love the vibe that it has. But, yeah, like, if you want to, like, you know, if you love Japanese singers, like, female singers that, that also do metal, this is definitely, like, you know, highly recommended for me. I love this shit so much better than that fucking baby metal shit. Alright, so now let's get, talking about the next three, metal albums here. So, this one right here is, Judas Priest with Defenders of the Fate. And yeah, this is a really awesome cover art. I always found that it kind of looked like a boss in a video game, which I thought was cool. So yeah, so this album is great. Definitely one of my favorites. It's you know has Free Will Burning, which has which was the one that got a music video made, and they played in an arcade. Fucking cool. You know, Jawbreaker, Rock Hard, Ride Free, the Centennial, and then Eat Me Alive. Yeah. Very, very cool stuff. Like I said, one of my favorites from them, for sure. Though Painkiller is still my favorite, but that one is not far behind. Then we got, you know, Slayer, one of their most popular albums, Rain in Blood. And yeah, very short album for what it is, but man, so fucking good. I mean, I don't really need to say much about it here, because, you know, it's just... like, this is basically the one that basically set them off the map and made them to, like, what they are. So, you know, not much to say on that. And then, finally, we got is, Melina Road with Crystal Logic. Another really great album. And, yeah, this one has, like, Necropolis, Crystal Logic, obviously. You know, Feeling Free Again. That one has a really awesome guitar intro that I love. And then, you know, The Riddle Master, The Veils of Negative Existence. Yeah, really good shit. Also, I have to mention, too, that the character Melina Rage from Guilty Gear was named after this band. So, yeah, fucking cool. Okay, and next up, we're going to talk about some Frank Zappa. So, here's the thing. When I went to my, like, one of the record stores here, someone, like, traded in, like, a shit ton of Frank Zappa albums. And he has a lot of albums. Like, it's insane. Like, I think he even has more than Prince, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, he has like a shitload. So yeah, so I ended up picking up 3 of my favorite ones that was there. So we got the Grand Wazoo. Yeah, this is a really, really great album. Very jazz-like, but very, very good. And also, like, there's not many songs on here, but the songs are pretty long for the most part. Or at least like a couple of them are. But, yeah, no, this is a very, very good album. I really love this one a lot. Also, it's one of the few Frank Zappa album covers that I actually really like, because it's, like, very, like, hectic and crazy busy and shit. So, yeah, I like that. Then, this one is, like, a lot of people consider this to be one of the best, and I can definitely see why. And that is, One Size Fits All. You know, the little crazy cover there. And, yeah, this one has a lot of songs on it that are just very catchy. A lot of them get stuck in your head. And, yeah, like I said, this is, like, one of his, like, quintessential, like, you know, must, you know, plays, pretty much. And I will say, because, like I said earlier, like, Frank Zappa has, like, a shit ton of albums. Even I haven't even heard them all. But, man, but other ones I have heard, though, like, there is a lot of good shit in there. But, yeah, and then next, we got the first album that I ever heard from him, at least when I first heard, like, you know, from beginning till end, not, like, because, you know, the first song I ever heard from him, I think, was, like, Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, which is, like, a way earlier song, because someone played it for me, and I was like, oh, this is funny. So this one is Joe's Garage. And yes, this is an album cover that you would definitely not be able to remake today. Yeah. So, yeah, Joe's Garage is, you know, a concept album. You know, it's a double album. Yeah, this one has, like fucking, yeah, like 3 acts. Yeah, so there's a lot of, songs on here. And yes, this is actually a very important album, I think, because I think what the story talks about is that it's very, it talks about, like anti-censorship on, like, music and stuff, which, you know, I think is a very, good message, because, you know, I don't think we should be censoring that type of shit at all. And, you know, of course, you know, there's also some songs on here that are very catchy, but then there's stuff that's, like, really, like, silly and funny. Like, there's literally a song on here where he literally, like, sings about, like, you know, having sex with a washing machine. Yes, I'm not making this shit up, but oh my god, though, it's funny shit. And also there's a song on here called It Hurts When I Pee, and it's, like, one of the most, like, catchiest songs ever, and it gets stuck in your head, and you're like, why is this song so fucking stupid, so fucking good? But, yeah, no, I definitely really love this album. Like, if you're gonna listen to any Frank Zappa albums, because I do understand that some of his stuff is very out there, this one I think is probably the most accessible one, because, like I said, like, yeah, it does have some weird shit on it, but I feel like it does have enough, like, catchy and, like, more accessible stuff that, like, I think people that never heard Frank Zappa before could maybe get into. Alright, now as for the final 2 CDs I got here, this is one that's probably going to be very surprising to a lot of people, because when I mention this band name, you're going to be thinking, oh, no, like, not them, like, what is this, a bunch of girly man music? So, okay, so hear me out here. So, we got the Bee Gees. Now, here's the thing. I know you're probably thinking, oh, you like those, like, fucking disco bullshit music, like, you know, stuff like Staying Alive, and, you know, More Than a Woman, and, you know, How Deep Is Your Love, and all that shit. Well, here's the thing. Their early stuff, nothing like that at all. And, in fact, I remember when a friend of mine, he asked me, he's like, hey, do you like the Bee Gees? And I'm just like, no, I don't listen to that shit. And he's like, oh, dude, like, you should check out their early stuff. It's, like, way different. Yeah, so in case you're wondering what these early albums are like, they're basically sort of Beatles-esque, but also meets, like, the Kinks, kinda. Like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain it simply, but yeah, that's, like, the easiest way I can explain it. It's like the Beatles and the Kinks kind of thing. So, yeah, so these are, like, my 2 favorite albums from them, by the way. So, yeah, because of that, after when I heard these albums and all their early stuff, I was like, wow, this band is actually good. Like, what the fuck? Like, I like this. So, here's the thing. Odessa, this is from 1969, and fun fact, if you own this album on vinyl back in the day, the cover art was literally made out of velvet. Like, how neat is that? So this was originally released as a double album, because there was a lot of songs on here. Yeah, about 17 of them. And I can say that this is a very cool album. It's sort of a concept album-ish. It's all about like a ship that sinks called the Odessa kind of thing. And and this is probably the most sort of prog album that they've ever made. I don't want to say this is prog rock, but it definitely is the closest thing to prog rock that they've ever done. It's very experimental. So, songs on here like Black Diamond I love, Merrily Port Drive, it just gets stuck in my head. Suddenly is another one that also gets stuck in my head a lot. In fact, that one was actually done by Morris Gibb, who I think is probably one of the most interesting members of the band. And then, Lamplight, and, Laugh in Your Face, and Never Say Never Again. And, there's even some instrumental stuff on here, too, like the British Opera, which is fucking cool. But yeah, I really love this album a lot. Like I said, I would, if all you know about the Bee Gees is all that other shit, I would at least say give this one a try. And then this one right here, this is my number one album, Trafalgar, and yes, another really awesome cover art. See, that's the other thing too about the older Bee Gees albums that I like, is that they have cooler covers. Because, the other, their more mainstream stuff is, it's just them on the cover, it's whatever shit. This, it actually has, cool detail and shit. But okay, enough about that. So yes, this album is probably one of the most underrated albums, I think. Is, you got, Israel, The Greatest Man in the World, Remembering is a nice song. Somebody Stop the Music is one of those songs that got stuck in my head. And there's Trafalgar itself is just really great. And then the final song, Walking Back to Waterloo, I'll be honest, if you're going to listen to any song off this album, listen to that one. And it's the final song on the album. That is, amazing. I fucking love it. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about this. I know I basically just, gushed about, this, early Bee Gees shit. I know most of you guys probably don't give a fuck, but like I said, though, like I've been saying, the old Bee Gees stuff, surprisingly really damn good, and yet barely anyone talks about that, so it's just kind of interesting. Alright, before I move on to the last section, being the books, I actually do have one more album to show off, but here's the surprising thing. I actually bought a vinyl. So here's the thing you guys are probably wondering since I've been doing these, is that you're probably asking yourself, Bio, why are you buying these CDs? CDs are not cool anymore, you need to be like the rest of everyone else where you gotta buy vinyl now. Well, I kind of have a bit of a criteria system with vinyl. It's not that I hate it, I just, here's the thing. One, most of the vinyl that I have back there, most of them were given to me by my stepdad after he passed away. So, I never bought, any of them. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I bought, 2. But, outside of those 2 albums, the rest of them were just given to me. So I just have, a shitload on me. So, so because of that, I'm only going to be buying old shit. I'm not buying any of these, new releases for vinyl. I'm not buying, I don't know, Queens of the Stone Age or some shit. Or Nirvana. Bands that were around when vinyl, was, dead, basically. I'm not buying any of that type of stuff. And then, the other thing is that with vinyl, because of, the space that they take out, as cool as they look, I just, it's just too much space, and I don't want to, just fill up, a whole fucking wall of just vinyl. I'm just not that dedicated to do that. So because of this, I have a criteria system where, 1, the album has to be at least, 8 out of 10 plus, for me personally. Also, it has to have an epic cover art. If there's a really good album that I love that has, a really bland and boring cover art, I probably won't get it on vinyl. And then the other thing is that it has to be, somewhat cheap. I'm not spending, over $100 on a vinyl record, I'm sorry. So anyways, with all that ranting shit out of the way, I'm gonna show you guys this one vinyl record I found. And it's actually a pretty cool one. It's, Kintaro. It's a Japanese album, and the album is called, I forget the name of it. It's I'll probably put it up on screen just so you guys know what it is, but it's kind of a cool name. So yeah, Look at this cover art. Like, it's just so fucking beautiful looking. And then the gatefold is really nice, too. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, very, very cool looking. So, in case you're wondering what the hell this is basically an instrumental album, very ambient, and some of the songs on here definitely do sound like stuff that would be in like an RPG, which I think is fucking awesome sounding. But yeah, it is on YouTube, and that's how I heard it, and I can definitely say that, yeah, that's another thing too. I don't even have a vinyl, like, record player right now. So yeah, I need to go get one when I move there. But yeah, when I do though, I definitely will be spinning this thing, and I think it'll be great. But yeah, no, it's a really cool album. Like I said, if you like instrumental, like, ambient, like, kind of, like, music, like, definitely some really good shit. And hell, you know what, maybe if you like video game music, you can definitely use this for background stuff. Alright everybody, now we are at the manga and books section, and recording this in my bedroom because I don't feel like taking all this shit down. So let's start off with the manga, and of course, the very first thing I have to say is that I finally now have a full set of 20th Century Boys. And as I'm doing this recording, I have finally started to read Volume 4. Still loving the hell out of it, and man, this is going to be a very fun next few days, because now I'm going to be reading through this whole entire series by binging it, and I'll definitely let you all know what I think about it by the end of it, and hopefully I'll try to explain it without giving away too much. Because I can already say right now, this has potential at already being like a top 10 favorite manga of all time for me. Granted, I haven't read like a shit ton, but still, like, it's gonna be like hard to beat this one. And before we move on, I do have to mention that I do think it's really cool that when you put all the spines together, they create like a little picture here. I don't know if you can see it well enough here, but you can kind of see there's like an eyes and nose and a little like creepy face here. I think that's just really awesome. I really love it when they do stuff like that. Alright, and the next manga I found was one that I was really surprised I found. So I actually found the first 5 volumes of Jujutsu Kaisen. This is a newer, popular series that has been going around lately, and as you can see, I still have the Goodwill price stickers on them because that's where I found all this shit. I was like, wow, like, never thought I'd be finding like something that recent at a Goodwill. I mean, finding manga at a Goodwill is hard enough as it is, but trying to find something like this is like, damn. So now that I have the first 5, I will be reading this soon, and this was a series that I was thinking about like experiencing watching, but now that I have them, well, I guess I'm going to be reading them first. And once I'm done reading the first 5, I'll definitely let you know what I think. If I like them, I'll keep them and like buy more of them, and if I don't, then, you know, I'm probably just going to sell them to someone. But yeah, it is one of the few more modern series out there that is very popular and mainstream that I actually was interested in giving a try. And now as we move down here, we have a full set of Dead Man Wonderland. I finally got the last 4 volumes that I needed left. And this one looks pretty cool altogether when you have like the black and white going back and forth of each of them. It's kind of nice, it's simple. But yeah, I've talked about this one a few number of times where, you know, the anime I thought was good, it was just the ending that sucked, but this manga series, from what I read of it, it was pretty damn good, and I really wanted to continue it for a long time, but I had like a big gap in the series. Next up, we got this really nice hardcover of Captain Harlock, which is created by the legendary Leiji Matsumoto. My experience with a lot of his stuff is really just with Galaxy Express 999, and I really loved it a lot. And I did watch like a little tiny bit of the anime version of Captain Harlock, and it did seem pretty cool, so if it's anything like that plus more, then I definitely will like this stuff. I just don't know exactly how many volumes there are of this, but this is a very nice looking hardcover, so I would imagine that the rest of the set's gonna look really good. Right beside it here, we have Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. I don't think I pronounced it right, but this is a old manga series that now got a official English release from 7 Seas, and I have to say, this publisher, 7 Seas, does a really good job bringing back a lot of these really cool, obscure, older titles. Like they did Spriggan, which of course, you know, has like a newer anime made out of it, but then you got this one, which actually did have an OVA back in the 90s, which I've never seen, but I've always thought about watching it ever since I heard about it. So what this one is about is that it takes place in like a post-apocalyptic world, but the thing that's different about this post-apocalyptic world is that instead of everything being like super dark and depressing and drab looking, things are actually a bit more peaceful because there's not as much humans like being shitheads. So the main character of this world happens to be an android who happens to run like a coffee shop within like this post-apocalyptic world, which does sound very different compared to most stuff I would read, but I think it has enough going for it that I do find to be interesting for that. Like I said, I do think it is like a little bit different for like this type of thing. I also really do like the art style a lot. Then again, it's from the 90s, so of course I'm gonna love it. And it's also not a crazy long series to get into. In Japan, they only have 14 volumes, and I believe these versions are 2-in-1s, I think, so there'd be about like 7 volumes in total I'd have to get, which is pretty easy. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very nice one to try out, something a little different. And as for the final manga that I picked up, happens to be Volume 5 of Die Dark, and yes, I already talked about this one in the last video, so I won't go too much into it here, but I'll just say that this is another series I just think is just really awesome, really great, and I do hope that the series is doing well over here, because I do think that it is a very cool series that I definitely do like quite a bit. It's very fun, funny, and has a lot of great action, and of course the art style is just really awesome and badass looking. So once I'm done with my current reading, I'm going to be jumping back onto this one. Now we're going to be moving on to regular old novels, and first we're going to be taking a look at the Stephen King stuff I picked up, and I am almost done with all the ones that I really want to read. So I eventually picked up the one that I was really anticipating on getting, and that was Mr. Mercedes. So this is the first one in his little crime trilogy that he had going on here, although they do have like more of them technically. Like there's like The Outsiders, and there's apparently a newer one that's coming out later this year, but anyways, when it comes to reading a lot of the King stuff I've been getting into, this is the one that I was really wanting to try to find, and it took me freaking forever, and yet I found it at a Goodwill randomly, and I was like, well, I'm taking that shit. And I heard that Stephen King himself actually said that he actually dedicated this book to Thomas Harris, which ironically I actually just finished reading Red Dragon, and that book was great. So if this is going to be similar to that, but you know, in more of a King style, I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one. Alright, and moving down over here, we have the next Dan Simmons novel I picked up, and that is Children of the Night, which is actually book 2 of Summer of Night. So it might take me a little bit to try to get to this one, as that I really need to read through Summer of Night first. But I do know that this one has to do with vampires or something, so I do think that's going to be pretty cool and fun to read about. And next up we have over here is the next Michael Crichton collection, which has 3 more, being Congo, Sphere, and Eaters of the Dead. So Sphere I've already read before, and I can say I really loved it a lot. It might actually be my favorite one that I've read of his so far. And then Congo I thought sounded pretty interesting, where it's all about a group of people go missing inside a mine, and then of course there's like this one character who's also looking after a gorilla, and then yeah, I know this one actually did get made into a movie, and the movie like really fucking sucked. Like, it was so bad that even Tim Curry couldn't even save it, and that's pretty sad. And one weird thing that some of you might not have known is that Congo actually did get a first-person shooter game made out of it on the Sega Saturn of all things, and it's surprisingly not that bad. Like, I was actually like, wow, this is actually pretty playable. I mean, it's not amazing, but definitely a lot better than I was expecting, so yeah. Anyways, I just figured I'd mention that, but yeah, I really want to read that one. And then with a title like Eaters of the Dead, you'd expect that this one's going to be about zombies, but no, it's actually about Vikings, weirdly enough. So I do think that actually sounds like a really cool one. And also this one got made into a movie too, but the movie was called The 13th Warrior. I haven't seen it. In fact, I didn't even know it was even a thing until recently. And I think it does sound like a pretty good one. In fact, I've heard from people that it actually was like one of the better Crichton adaptations. Of course, not better than Jurassic Park, but still one of the better ones that came out of it, which I think is pretty nice to hear. Alright, and now we're getting down to the very bottom shelf. And the first 2 we got here is James Clerval with Noble House. And as you can see, this book is split into 2 different volumes, and it's like, oh man, it's just like manga, isn't it? So anyways, this one kind of has to do with the whole Hong Kong and like the British government and like all that kind of crazy stuff that happened around that time. And the one book that kind of got me interested in wanting to check him out was the one that he wrote called Shogun, which is like a huge brick book of like over 1,000 pages, and it's all about like a bunch of samurai stuff, which I just think just sounds really awesome, which I can't find it around here, but I did found these, which are like in the same series, so I figured I might as well get them now. So next we have more random Goodwill finds that kind of caught my interest from stuff I never heard of before. So this is Eric von Lustbader, and this is his little ninja series he has. So the Kaisho is the 4th book, and Second Skin is the 6th book. So this will be another one that is going to take me some time to get around to, as that I should probably read them in order. But yeah, the very first book he ever wrote in this series is literally called The Ninja. Yeah, it shares the same name as the Master System game, funny enough. So obviously what caught my interest with this is that, yeah, it has to do about ninjas, which is pretty cool, and then it also has to do with, like, crime and, like, the Yakuza and, like, you know, like, Mafia and all that kind of stuff, so, yeah, it'll definitely be very interesting to get around to this one. Alright, now moving on to another shelf. So this right here is I, Robot from Isaac Asimov, and this copy right here looks exactly like the same one that I read in high school. Because yes, I actually read this shit in high school, and I don't remember a whole lot about it other than the fact that it was, like, really different than the Will Smith movie. So I do want to reread this again, and maybe I'll understand it way more now than I did back then. And also, it's actually a very short book, so yes, it'll be very interesting to go back to this one. And next up, we got a new fantasy series I'm thinking about starting up. Well, I say thinking about it as if, like, you know, I already bought them already. So this is Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. So this little paperback here is the very first one, Stormfront. And I happened to get it at a bookstore, and then the other 3 hardcovers I actually got at a Goodwill, and I was like, oh damn, and this was a series I was thinking about starting. But of course, those hardcovers are like way later on in the series, because I believe there's like 16 books in this series, which does sound pretty insane, but, you know, the books are like not crazy long, and I've also heard that they're pretty easy to read too, so I've heard that it's actually pretty easygoing, even if it does like seem a little intimidating. And the thing about this series that I thought was very interesting is that a lot of people compare it to Harry Potter, but if it was way more mature. So basically, you know, it's all about, like, you know, wizards and stuff, but instead of it being at a magic school, it's all about, like, a detective. So yeah, he's like a detective who's also a wizard, and also I think his character design looks really cool. He kind of looks like a mixture between Vampire Hunter D if he fused with a red mage from Final Fantasy, and I think that's great. And I also heard that these books also do have a lot of, like, satire within them, like, they're very funny, so I'm very curious to know how this is gonna go about. So yeah, it's a fantasy series that also has to do with crime, and then it also has a lot of funny shit in it. And the main character happens to have a cool hat. It sounds right up my alley. And then right beside that, we have another fantasy series, and this one is from Terry Goodkind, and that happens to be The Sword of Truth. So we have Book 1, Book 3, Book 4, and Book 5. Unfortunately, no Book 2, so I'll have to get that one soon. But yeah, this one is more medieval fantasy, where with the Dresden Files, those are more urban fantasy. And I've heard that this one, like, is also, like, kind of long, but it's also, like, pretty easy to read, and, you know, it doesn't have, like, you know, a 20 description page of, like, you know, the grass or some bullshit. So this one is not going to feel overwhelming, because I know there's another fantasy series out there I've wanted to try called The Wheel of Time from Robert Jordan, but I've heard that series is, like, pretty hard to read because there's just so much that goes into it. And I mean, like, I'm sure it's, like, really cool and awesome. Alright, and next up we got one that's been kind of a long time coming for me, and this one is Dune. And look at this awesome hardcover version. This is definitely, like, the coolest, like, cover that I've seen of a Dune novel. Even the pages are, like, turquoise. It's, like, really cool looking. And also, if you open up the dust jacket, like, everything in here just has very beautiful artwork in it. So yeah, I don't really need to say a whole lot about Dune, but my only experience with it was watching the David Lynch movie, which I thought was pretty cool, but I have heard from a lot of people that the book is, like, pretty different. Well, it's not, like, super different, it's just more so the fact that the movie kind of, like, skips over a lot of different stuff. And this book is pretty much considered, like, an all-time favorite and a classic for a reason, so yeah. Definitely can't wait to get into this one, finally, after all these years. And finally, as for the final book that I got within this whole 2 months, is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. So this is a very recent author that I found out about, and I've heard a lot of people have compared him to, like, the new Michael Crichton, which I think is an awesome thing to be compared to, so I had to look into his stuff, and yeah, a lot of it actually sounds really interesting to me. So this book, Upgrade, is all about genetics and how we can, like, upgrade, like, our people's genetics and stuff. But just like with Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, where it brings up the idea of, yeah, it'd be awesome awesome if we can bring back the dinosaurs, but should we though? There might be some consequences to that. So it definitely sounds very fascinating to me. He also wrote other stuff like Dark Matter and Reoccursion, which also sound very interesting. So yep, that's everything that I got for this month, and I forgot to record like a little last bit for the ending here, but you know. But as always, what are some things that you picked up recently that you really liked, or stuff that you really want to try, and then what's some stuff that I picked up that you may want to go out and try out yourself, or stuff that, you know, you've had experience with in the past, or whatever it is, just let me know and we can all have a discussion about it and all the fun stuff. So, that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.